Board button. Okay, can you hear me okay, Mr. Cooey? You can, okay. So I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting of the Rules and Resolutions Committee and Ethics Board to order. This is our Thursday, June 3rd meeting. We're meeting at 10 a.m. for the first time to avoid the conflict with the Board of Adjustments, which meets at 1 p.m. in the afternoon. Clerk Kalish, can you take the roll to see who's here?
Well, Murphy Lopez. Here. Cosgrove. Severson. Luck.
Here.
And Seep. I don't believe we have Don, but we still have a quorum.
Okay. Thank you. Proof of notification. Let's see, I sent out the email. I'm not sure if did it get posted on the bulletin board downstairs?
I believe so.
I probably should have asked someone specifically to do that, but I did not.
Yes, I do believe I posted it
You
right
put it
after
on
you
the
sent
bulletin
it.
board?
Yes.
Okay,
correct.
great.
Yep.
All right, thanks for doing that. Agenda item number 3, agenda approval. We've got a 10-point agenda, so I'm looking for a motion to approve this agenda. Motion by Cosgrove, second by Luck. All those in favor of the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Okay, the agenda is approved. Previous agenda item number 4, previous meeting minutes. So we have previous meeting minutes from our May 6th meeting. Looking for a motion to approve those.
Carrie Severson will move.
Okay, motion by Severson, second by Cosgrove. Any changes on those? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Okay, we have approved minutes. Agenda item number 5, recognition of the service of Anthony Wheeler. So for this item, this is picking up on an item we considered at our April meeting, which was recognizing the service of 22 municipal elected officials who have served more than 20 or more years in Richland County. So we had 22 people. We did list my name and contact information on there in case there were any errors or if anyone was accidentally left out. And I did have one person contact me from Sylvan Township, and that's the treasurer of Sylvan Township. His name is Anthony, or he goes by Tony Wheeler, and he's been the treasurer since 1985. So what did I do here? I drafted a resolution amending resolution 21-53, adding him to the list here. So that's what I'm bringing forward to you guys today, just a motion to present an amended resolution to the county board to make sure he gets his recognition.
So moved.
Okay, motion by Luck. Second by Cosgrove. Any discussion on this? Anyone heard of anyone else who was left out? All right. Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Okay, that motion passes. Agenda item number 6, recognition of emergency and healthcare service workers. So I also drew up, did I do I can't remember now. This was almost 24 hours ago. Yes, I did draw up a draft resolution for this one as well. And I noticed in several area newspapers, EMS workers were honored during EMS week. Not necessarily EMS workers and volunteers were honored during EMS week, which is May 16th through the 22nd. So there are quite a few different emergency and healthcare service related weeks and days. So it's Correctional Officers Week is May 2nd through the 8th. Firefighters Day is May 4th. Nurses Week was May 6th through the 12th. Police Week and Hospital Week is May 9th through the 15th. And then that last one I mentioned, probably would have been better to do it in May, but better late than never. I don't know. The resolution that I drafted doesn't have any, it doesn't reference those different weeks honoring those different professions, but it does list out the ambulance associations, the police forces, the healthcare service organizations, and I skipped the ambulance associations. I list all those out, and then I did create an attachment for this with the addresses of all of those to give to Clerk Kalish so that he could, if everyone wants to do this, he could send it out after the county board approves it to all those different groups. So any discussion on this? And looks like we've got Supervisor Seek. We haven't gotten very far down the agenda, Supervisor Seep, so.
Hey, Julie, here you go. What's the easiest?
You're very kind. I don't deserve it.
Hello, Mr. Steve.
Hi. Now,
Melissa's over here.
Melissa, you just waved. didn't
I'm
you?
over here, yep.
Oh, there.
There I am.
Oh, Clint. Sorry.
Supervisor Seep, I just turned on your microphone, so it's right in front of you. If I don't know if you have you used these microphones. Yep, you have.
I gotta put this on.
Let Supervisor Seep get settled here.
Very kind of you. I'm sorry I'm late.
We're just glad you're here.
Well,
I sent a special invitation to him to meet in person so that we
Yeah.
could go to the clerk's office and look through old ordinances and resolutions today.
can you unzip me? Oh, I guess I could put that differently. Who's this?
The Honorable Carrie Severson.
Oh, it is an honor.
Okay, so
Oh, fine.
Mr. Seep, I think you know most people here, but we got Supervisor Cosgrove and then
Oh,
Clerk Kalish is here as well. He's taking minutes for us today.
Mr. Cosgrove delivered my furnace with great, what's the word, acularity? Great speed. Who's over here?
This is Clerk Kalish is sitting
Oh,
right
yes,
here.
Mr. Kalish, how are you?
Good, you?
Good, congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so we got introductions out of the way here. So any discussion on this item? We are at agenda item,
6.
yeah, thank you, number 6. So yes, we've done that and more. So right now we're discussing the agenda item recognition of emergency and healthcare service workers. And I've got a recommended motion for you guys to present a resolution to the county board recognizing the contributions of emergency and healthcare service workers and volunteers in Richland County. And then I've got the draft resolution if you guys want to suggest any changes to it or what have you. Okay, motion by Cosgrove,
A second.
second by Severson. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, should Harvest
Go for it.
should Harvest Guest Home be listed on here?
Probably. So that would be under that last paragraph on the first page. Healthcare service workers and volunteers.
Yeah. Aren't they a skilled nursing facility or some type of a
Yeah.
residential? I don't know about our house being a skilled nursing facility, but
So what was the name of it again?
Harvest Guest Home.
Harvest Guest Home. Okay, and then you're not sure that Our House Senior Living should be on there? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I don't know if they're really, they may be considered healthcare, but they're not, there's no licensed RNs on staff there, but
Mr.
they take
Chairman?
care of our residents.
Okay, all right, Supervisor.
Chairman?
Yep, go ahead, Supervisor.
Perhaps we could, or maybe it's there, I don't see it. Perhaps we could have a catch-all and all healthcare workers in Richland County or in our community. Kind of a summing up catch-all, or is that necessary?
I'm just,
That would solve Mr. Severson's diplomatic problem of not overlooking someone.
okay, so the way I drafted this was, it's a resolution recognizing emergency and healthcare service workers and volunteers. Whereas Richland County residents and visitors rely on emergency and health service workers and volunteers for our safety and well-being. And then it starts going into these different sections of whereas several volunteer fire associations exist, and then it lists them out. Ambulance associations, it lists them out. Police forces, it lists them out. And then several organizations with healthcare service workers and volunteers are in our county, including Our House Senior Living, Pine Valley Community Village, Richland County Health and Human Services Department, the Richland Hospital and Clinic, and Schmidt Woodland Hills. And then whereas hundreds of people serve in these organizations and a little bit more, and we express appreciation, kind of blah, blah, you know, just some other things here. If any group has been erroneously omitted from the above list, contact the chair of rules and resolutions. And then be it further resolved that the county clerk is directed to send a copy of this resolution to each of these organizations set forth in the attachment to this resolution. So that's sort of the context for all this. So
Well, I think that's very nice. I think Mr. Severson, as usual, was just trying to exercise tact and diplomacy.
okay, so
What about our health department?
yep, that's listed.
Services Department.
You mean,
Yes, the Richland Hospital and Clinic is how I,
It's there.
are you talking about health and human services?
so probably the best way to do this, just so that we're all on the same page. And so Derek's really clear about what's happening here, is we probably need a motion to amend to add. And I don't know if you still want to remove Supervisor Severson, but why don't you go ahead and make the motion to amend? Can you do that? Motion to amend to add Harvest Guest Home, is that what?
Okay, I would
Great.
move to amend current resolution to state Harvest Guest Home be listed.
Okay, so a motion to amend by Severson,
I'll second.
a second by Luck. So discussion on that. So do you want to remove Our House Senior Living?
No, I think they're,
Okay.
they're helping out they're just not a licensed facility, I guess.
Okay. They don't have RNs, I think was your point, but they,
Yeah.
okay. But they have other healthcare service workers. Okay. And then Supervisor Seat what did you say? You were saying, is there a way to list out all healthcare service workers?
No,
But I think you're good.
I'm pleased with the way it's been put together.
Okay, all right, so all those in favor of the motion to amend to add Harvest Guest Home to the list of healthcare service worker organizations, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that satisfies your diplomacy.
Okay, opposed say no. That motion to amend carries, and then we have an amended motion to pass this resolution on to the county board as amended. So all those in favor of the amended motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Okay, so that motion carries. All right, thanks for adding that. It's good to add Harvest Guest Home. Let's see. So agenda item number 7, LGBTQ Pride Month. So I prepared a resolution, a draft resolution here for the committee to consider. So this would be presenting a resolution to the county board celebrating LGBTQ, which stands for Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender, and Queer Pride Month. And I wrote a little bit of background here. I mean, obviously I'm part of this community, so I know a little bit more about it than maybe the average person. But the LGBTQ Pride Month started in roughly 1970, and this was after a series of riots and demonstrations after police raids, which were very common back in the 60s and 70s and even into the 80s, of establishments where LGBTQ people would go. And it sort of led to this whole, it was just a big moment in that movement. And so I did ask Crystal Foley at the Richland County History Room if there was any history on people who live in Richland County in this community, and she said that there wasn't. Nothing has been written down. I actually learned from Supervisor Severson, I think you told me, that Ada James, someone mentioned to me that Ada James was a lesbian, and she was a famous person, started our Health and Human Services Department, I believe. She was one of the people behind that. But I asked Crystal Foley about that, and she said it was just probably an open secret and no one ever wrote it down, So anyway, with our other ones where we've done African Americans and women, we've had sort of a list of famous people who have accomplished certain things who are now gone. We've had them listed out with some of their accomplishments, and we don't have that with this community because of a lot of the stigma that's been associated with it. But of course that's changing. But so anyway, I drew up a resolution and looking forward to.
I would make a motion
Okay.
to present this to the county board, and thank you for bringing it to us. I feel like we should have been more proactive in bringing it, and not just making you do it.
That's okay. So motion by Luck.
I'll second the motion, and I join with Melissa in congratulating you and thanking you for bringing this forward, and commending you for your forthrightness and your courage when you began your campaign for county board. You were very forthright and honest with people about your lifestyle, and you defended it very well, and you have been totally accepted by the community. Not that you needed to be accepted, except that the cultural milieu is such that you know the story. So I wholeheartedly support this resolution.
Okay, second by Seep, and thank you. Any further discussion? Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Dune. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Years ago, struggled with identity issues. Be nice to see if just something more than what the resolutions. Richland County Board supports, LGBT. Just something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I know for our other ones, for our other resolutions, it's some people have talked about whether we should have like diversity related goals. And so that's kind of why I've been bringing a variety of resolutions to this committee, because I'm trying to think about like who makes up our community, and I'm trying not to be too focused on just the groups of people who have gained rights, but the people who have also always been here. And I've tended to think of that as more of like the establishment, the people who have been elected and been serving for a while, and then also people in, very respected occupations. And we haven't done anything besides pass the resolutions. We've just pushed them through the county board. We haven't done anything else. But I know that Chair Brewer has mentioned something about, focusing on diversity. I don't think that's in our strategic plan yet. I think there are other things that we could be doing as a county organization, but these are kind of just symbolic resolutions. It's really all they are. I mean, there's nothing else that we're doing with them, and we'll have to go through the rest of the year and see which ones the county board wants and this committee want to adopt as well. So to me, it's just a starting point. It's not really, it's not going to solve all the ills that all of these different groups experience, whether they're part of the establishment or whether they're these newer groups, because every group has problems. I know, every group has challenges. So
Looking at the difference between, otherwise it seems to be using the word celebrating to mean just as a feeling that should be a little more to it. I mean, a celebration is.
what do committee members think?
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, go ahead, Supervisor C.
I apologize, Ms. Ledoux. I did not hear your question. Could you just briefly state your question? A little louder. Could you go close to the mic?
Hello? There we go.
Yes,
Is that good?
very good.
I guess I'm not trying to be nitpicky. It's just, to me, if we're gonna celebrate something, not just recognize it, to me, it seems like we're just recognizing it. We're passing a resolution, we're recognizing this. But if we're gonna celebrate it as a board, it just would be nice just to do something. Like I said, whether it's just like a simple ad in the paper or something along those lines, and just throwing it out there.
Is there a legal distinction?
Just semantics.
Okay, any other thoughts from committee members? Okay, yeah, good. Oh, yeah, Supervisor Cosgrove, go ahead.
I would suspect that with maybe a little nudging, once this hits county board, typically there is a write-up in the Observer on some of the highlights that we approve or don't approve at the county board level. This could be one of those.
Yeah, yeah, the editor of the Richland Observer, I believe she writes the articles, and also the WRCO covers this. And I know they've mentioned Women's History Month and African American History Month, and we celebrated those two as well as all those different municipal elected officials. So I know it'll hit there, but yeah, certainly if other people have ideas off of the county board, that I think it'd be good to hear those, and yeah, I think the issue of suicide is probably one of the biggest issues related to this, and that it's probably one of the most important. I'm assuming that Health and Human Services Department, some staff over there might have some ideas as well. So, okay, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Okay, that motion carries. Agenda item number 8, ordinance and resolution records review. So at the last meeting, Supervisor Severson requested a future agenda item to review, I believe you said non-zoning ordinances. Did I get that right? Okay. And I talked to Clerk Kalish after that meeting, and he took me on a brief tour of where the ordinances and resolutions are stored in the vault room next to the clerk's office, next to his personal office within the bigger clerk administrator complex on the 3rd floor here. A lot of rooms. So I'm just starting to understand them all. So this is why made a point to invite Supervisor Seep to come here in person today. He's been joining meetings remotely, but I'm glad you came today so that we could all go walk in there. So what I thought we could do is for this portion of the meeting, we could go with Clerk Kalish and hear a brief, say, I'm thinking like 5 minutes, like a 5-minute tour there, and maybe a few brief questions as well. And then after we feel like we're kind of acclimated to the situation with ordinances and resolutions and how it's being stored, we can come back to this room and have a little more discussion on the record, so that if anyone else wants to hear it who's not here today and they're rewatching, they can know what we're talking about. And by the way, this committee, section E of the committee structure document, which I'm going to pull up and read from before we go, like what gives us the authority to be doing this and talking about this stuff. So letter E under rules and resolutions says that this committee should deal with the disposal or destruction of county records under ordinance number 99-11, which I've never seen or asked for. So that's something we should probably eventually dig into and understand a little bit. But anyway, the clerk stores all this information in that room, and presumably we have some authority to deal with the disposal or destruction of that, working in partnership with the clerk. And probably we'll see what the ordinance says. There's probably records of all types in all departments that we're supposed to be somehow dealing with, as it says.
Mr. Chair.
Yep, go ahead.
You're bringing up kind of a Pandora's box, I believe, because
Am I?
various departments are governed under different statutes, some federal, and some require a much longer retention of records and call for different methods of disposition than others. It'll take some work and some research to put that all together. I wonder if we could reach out to department heads and ask them to provide, if we're interested in this, provide the guidelines for the disposition of records within their department, which fall under state and federal guidelines as well as county guidelines.
Yeah, I think for a future agenda item, let's look at ordinance 99-11.
Yes.
Let's see what it says. Maybe they thought of that back in 1999. I don't know.
Yeah,
Some of
relates
the
to.
things you're bringing up, and then we can deal with it then. But let's go ahead and shift over to the clerk's office right now and get a little tour.
Is this a magnified tour so that I can see it?
This will be an audio.
I'm being facetious.
An audio tour. So Derek will do a really good job of describing things, I'm sure.
I got a big mouth, so y'all hit me.
Oh, I said C before. Sorry about that.
You want yours?
Yeah.
This morning. I did down, I said I'd be 5 minutes.
Okay, so we're back in the room now, back in the county boardroom. We've gone on our tour. We found, specific to Supervisor Severson's question, there are 4 ordinance books, and each one of them has 500,000 pages or something. Pretty big.
500 pages. I don't know.
Okay. So I know that originally the idea was it'd be nice to start reviewing those ordinances. And I think sometimes when one of us has an interest in something, like say the tax deed ordinance or the sheriff's department ordinance or whatever it is, we call up the clerk, we say, can you pull this? And then he's got to figure out when it was probably originally adopted and all the amendments, and there's a big process to figuring it all out. Nothing's online. So I'm just wondering what you think now, Supervisor Severson, like as far as reviewing ordinances, obviously, we can start thumbing through books, but what do you think we should do? Not to put you on the spot, but it was your idea, so I'm just kind of wondering if you got any
I
good
think we need to get
ideas.
them updated. I mean, I don't know if it needs to go electronic and something.
Mr. Chair.
It's just like, it was like before, like you'd go and you do something and all of a sudden somebody would come up, oh, here's this ordinance right here, or oh, here's this, that contradicts what you were doing, and nobody knew about it.
Mhm.
Somebody did though, but we didn't.
Mhm.
Mr. Chair.
It wasn't public, it was just the clerk or maybe staff
I
who
don't
had
know.
contacted the clerk.
Somebody would just come up and say, oh, by the way, here's this, after all the work that you did, that says that you can't do that.
Okay, Supervisor Luck?
I'm wondering if we should formally find a vendor and get dollar value so we can start talking about what this is going to cost and get it before the board while we're in the budget process.
Are you talking about the cost of digital?
The cost of digitalizing the books so that they are searchable and we can start to ascertain what we actually have on the books.
Yeah, so do you, did you say, should we make it formal? Do you want to make a motion that,
I
That
would
we
make a
direct
motion
the-
that instructing Clerk Kalish to, I don't know if you need to
collect
solicit bids or if we even know who we're asking at this point,
No.
but can you research it and come to us with some kind of dollar figure so that we can incorporate it into the budget process? That's my motion.
Okay, so it's a motion to direct the clerk to solicit bids for
We
making
don't wanna-
ordinances
And
and
resolution.
resolutions electronic. Did I get that
Yes,
right?
correct.
Did you get all that down?
Well, do you
Or-
want me
yeah.
to solicit bids or do you want me just, I think maybe we should start with research to determine, these are
What
the
process
companies
you
that can do
want.
this and this is what they can do before we send that out to bid. We started this process at the city where we were trying to make all the ordinances, resolutions there also in a digital format. So there are vendors that do this stuff. So I think that, with all due respect,
No,
the
what-
first way to
yeah.
start with this is to let me continue to do that research that can reach out to these different companies and I'm aware of that can help us with that because what you're going to find with this stuff is when you try to redo this and put this all electronic, there's these vendors that they're going to supply and offer you tons of different services. So I think we need to look at, I just need to continue researching what are the possible vendors and then bring you back a list of, okay, this is what these guys can do. And if that's going to meet the needs of what you all want for ordinances and resolutions, then maybe going further to see
Right,
from there.
that-
So if we can start with
that makes
research,
sense.
that
That
would
makes
be
sense.
great.
I think we should have some kind of timeline though, because
Yeah.
with the budget process in full force, I don't want us to miss
Mhm.
2022's budget. And then have to wait till 2023. I think this is something important enough that I guess we'll prioritize it with the rest of what we have to pay for in 2022.
And this was one of those
Yeah.
strategic goals that I had that
Yep,
Clinton and I
yep.
spoke about too,
So,
to get that
Whichever
going.
way you
So,
think is the best way to approach
Okay.
this, I'm okay with. But let's get it on the books
Yep,
and let's
yep.
get moving.
Discussion.
Okay, so
okay,
so we've got okay, yeah, let's go ahead and keep going here. So we've got a motion by Luck to solicit bids. We got a second by Severson, and then Supervisor Seat, go ahead.
Yes, I support this notion. I don't know whether or not Mr. Kalish will have, is this on?
Yep, it's
Mm-hmm.
on. You're good.
I don't know whether Mr. Kalish will have time with all that he's trying to catch up with to do this research and bring it to us before we put the budget together and I don't know whether we can get it into this forthcoming budget for 2022. Is that what you're saying,
That is,
Melissa?
and I would guess I would like to hear from Clerk Kalish's thoughts on that.
Yes.
I do believe I could have something to you, by July, August, somewhere around there, with the goal of, September 1 or September having something formalized and final. It will take a little while. Bear in mind, there is a new person starting up there too, so that's going to kind of be a bit of a backlog too. But I should have something to you in the next couple months,
Okay.
if that's fair.
Sounds good, yeah.
Okay.
Whatever is fair. I don't know how that fits with Your Langrick's, pro-
Question, Mr. Chair.
Yep, Supervisor. Severson.
Priorities.
Go ahead, Supervisor Severson.
Here, I just would like to hear an opinion from Mr. Langrick.
Right.
Regarding our motion.
In regards to this, it is consistent with action taken through Finance and Personnel last Tuesday. Brought forward was an MOU and a position description requested up through the county board. The discussion when we were appointing a new clerk, we had the discussion on the additional compensations that at one time were visualized for administrative coordinator duties. The county board asked myself to work with the clerk in producing an MOU of understanding what types of additional duties would be appropriate to seen as compensation or to justify that additional compensation of those goals of the ordinances and the resolutions which fit into the strategic priorities kind of put forth to the administrator kind of lined up. Clerk Kalish is willing to go with that. And again, the MOU and then a position description of like a part-time finance officer also was packaged together, and I'll be coming to the county board this month. Does that answer your question?
yes,
Financial-wise, with,
Where it's going to fit?
if Clerk Kalish finds a company that's willing to do it for a certain dollar amount, are we able to squeeze that into our budget, do you think? Is there any wiggle room? per
that's
se?
what the $15,000 is about.
Let's let Supervisor Severson.
Go ahead.
Yeah, get an answer from Mr.
Yeah,
Langer.
it'll depend on what that comes back at. I'm assuming it's in the realm of potentially a few $1,000s versus a few tens of thousands of dollars. How it fits in with the other dreams, visions, and good ideas that we have going forward into the next budget year is going to have to be, I envision, kind of a decision process like we worked through last year with these are the requests, where do they fit?
Okay,
Mr. Chair.
and before we get too much further, I just want to remind everyone that what we have is a motion to solicit bids. And we had that
Didn't I kind of
seconded.
modify that though?
Well,
before?
I think what okay, so I'm now thinking through all this parliamentary procedure stuff and what Mr. Seep has told me several times. The motion belongs to the body now. So if someone wishes to change it, they can make a motion to amend it. Or I believe you can also do a motion to withdraw. There's a couple different ways you can procedurally change motions once they're out on the floor and accepted by the body, which has been accepted with that second that Severson
Right.
gave. So
I can make a motion to amend my
Okay,
original motion.
go for it.
I would like Clerk Kalish to do as he stated, where he will look at what we are, he will investigate our options as to what we need. And at some point come forward with some sort of estimate on cost that we can include in our budget process so that we can look at this number with all the other needs of the county to make a decision as to whether we can invest in this in 2022 during our budget process.
Okay, so we've got a motion to amend, which would basically strike soliciting bids and replace it
Correct.
with investigating options and coming up with a cost estimate.
Cost estimate, yep.
Okay, is there a second for that? Okay, second by Cosgrove. So discussion on the motion to amend.
Can I just comment one thing further? I mean, I really
for
do
it, yep.
think that this is something that we're going to need to look at with the big picture of the budget and decide how high of a priority this is. So, I mean, I think we all think it's really important and it's a part of our strategic goals and there's many reasons why it should, but at the end of the day, we still have to figure out if we have the money.
Okay, let's go ahead and take a vote on the motion to amend. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Okay, that motion to amend carries. So now we have a motion out there, hopefully a little bit more along the lines of what you were thinking, Clerk Kalish.
Yep.
I'm very in support of this too. I think it's a great idea to basically be drafting a budget request is what's going to happen. And then we'll solicit bids after it gets in the budget and goes through all that proper procedure.
Mr. Chair,
Yep, go ahead.
I just also want to make one comment stating that I don't think it all needs to be done this year or next year. I think I like Clerk Kalish. That's kind of a tongue twister. Oh, sorry. But I like his idea when we were talking back to the room that, this is a multi-year process. And I think if we take a little bit at a time.
Yep, and that might be more financially
Yeah.
appealing.
It's, I don't know whether it's Pandora's box or a Trojan horse. But we can get started.
Okay, so I think now we have an amended motion. So all those in favor of the amended motion to investigate options, come up with cost estimates, and presumably come back to the committee with more information, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Okay, that motion carries. So thanks to Clerk Kalish for being willing to open your doors to us, and thanks to Supervisor Severson for getting this out on the table so that we could get it discussed. Now I've got to sign in because my computer goes to sleep. Agenda item number 9, future agenda items. So I already have, someone mentioned one. I know it was Supervisor Seat, but now where did I write it down? Oh, ordinance. So reviewing ordinance 99-11, that's our records retention ordinance. So that's one item. Supervisor Seat, do you have any other items for this committee for future agendas?
Are you talking about future agenda items?
Yes.
Yes. I would like to have in kind of generic terms.
Can you pull up a little closer to the mic so that?
Yes, you're right. I'm asking others to do that.
Thanks.
In generic terms, I would like to discuss the structure and function of committees, and particularly maybe one or two, but I'd like to leave it in a generic way rather than focus on the name of one particular committee.
Anything else?
No.
All right, Supervisor Severson.
I'd like us to maybe review our board rules. I know Supervisor Turk and Mr. Walsh and Mr. Seep and the other members of the last county board reviewed our rules of the county board, but I was going through some stuff with the Wisconsin Counties Association, and there's some stuff I feel that should be added, just like one example would be is identifying like what is a session? Is it a session of the county board 2 years, or is it just that 1 month session of the county board? I think we need to get that down. So if something does come up, and then another thing would be like voting. I know nobody's forced to vote, but like, do we say, hey, everybody has to vote on a thing as a county board rule, or is it you can abstain or what? Stuff like that. I'll come up with some more stuff as long as we can talk about it. But.
Oh, those are great. Those are great ones. So I got both those examples written down. Okay, anything else?
No.
For you? Okay, thank you. Supervisor Locke.
So the Administrator Transition Committee will be looking at the rules of the board tomorrow and we will be sending our recommendations for changes to this committee for next month. So we will be reviewing the rules of the board next month for at least those changes, and and at the same time, I'm assuming we can make other changes as well.
Okay, so your committee, that will just be board rules related to
County
having an
administrator, although
Yeah.
when going through them, I see some inconsistencies that don't necessarily have to do with the transition committee or with the county administrator. So I have noted them on there, and so this body could take those up.
Okay, all
as
right,
well.
so we'll look for those,
Mr.
future meeting, and then Supervisor Cosgrove.
The only question I have is has there been anything in the past showing support for the Hispanic community, which is an ever-growing segment of our population?
Gotcha, so like a resolution related to that.
Correct.
Okay, great. And then Mr. Steve has one more, so I guess we'll let him go again. Lots of good ideas flowing from the committee today. Go ahead, Supervisor. Did you have anything else? Okay, Supervisor Seat.
Yes, I think we need to get this business nailed down about payment for per diem and mileage. People just don't seem to have a system spelled out to them about whether or not they're supposed to turn in their slips, or whether it's done off the records of the meetings or whatever. It didn't come to my attention until just recently, and I got a minuscule check in the mail. So But others have mentioned that,
Should read the rules. It specifically states in
Okay,
there the
let's
rules.
not get into a discussion about it, but yes, so noted, per diems. I did want to mention two additional ideas that I have for future agendas. One is taking back up that item about minutes and who's in charge of taking those for committees. That'd be Rule 18. And then, let's see, I want to say I can't think of the other one, so I'm just going to stop and not say anything else. So I think we're good. We've got a lot of good ideas out there, and I appreciate everyone's ideas. We'll get those on future agendas.
Oh, I'm sorry, I have
So-
one more.
Oh, okay, one more.
Just to mention for the
Supervisor
record that we will be having bug tussle with a burying fiber in the ground coming to this committee next month as well.
Okay, I got that idea written down, and just by the way, as ideas come out, sometimes it takes a little bit sometimes I follow up with individuals afterward because I'm not quite sure exactly what was meant by the future agenda item. And then sometimes I work with staff or I try to figure out, can I put something together to get it on the agenda? So kind of figuring out how to get things on the agenda it's a little bit of an art. So these are all the ideas. It doesn't mean that we'll have all 8 ideas on the next agenda. So I just want to make it clear that if anyone's got an issue with things not being on the agenda, and you think things are taking too long, you can always overrule the chair. You can always make a motion to make something official, like the chair's not doing their job. I'm going to make a motion that this be on the next agenda, and then the body can vote on it.
I move.
All right. Carrie so moves that I'm not getting things on the agenda. I don't hear a second, so I guess I'll have
Dies
to
for
move
lack
on
of a
to
second.
agenda item number 10, adjournment. So here we're going to be entertaining a motion to adjourn to Thursday, July 1st at 10 a.m. in the county boardroom. Okay, anyone else not able to make July 1st?
what day of the week is that?
It's a Thursday. Thursday 1st.
That's fine.
Okay, so I'm entertaining a motion to adjourn to that date and time in this room. Okay, motion by
I'll second.
Cosgrove, second by Luck. All those in favor of the motion to adjourn, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Okay, we're adjourned. Thanks.